Good afternoon, mech warriors, mech techs, and nobles in hiding. It is another beautiful day. It's incredibly warm here, and we are back. We are back, and alas, the work is never ending. Oh, into the void we go. How is everybody today? I would say I've been having a hectic morning, but it'd be easier to say the days that I don't have a hectic morning. Why have we switched over? Go back into IntelliJ. Shoot. How is everybody today? I hope you're all doing well. My computer is struggling as always. There we go. Radar says they're doing all right, hunting pirates. Yeah. No, is that one of the new pity contracts that you're doing, or is that just a general pirate hunting? Do you know? So what are we going to be doing today? Today we're going to be doing some upgrades to Greg, because me and Hammer have been talking, and he's identified some stuff that he'd like to see done. And that basically comes down to the ability to stagger results. So what do I mean by that? So say you get congratulations for your 25 stream streak there, King Mar. I saw Arastrazi also had a 12 stream streak. Sorry, a free stream streak 12 minutes ago. Radar, a 30 stream streak, Knight a 20 stream streak, and Pathstrider a 10 stream streak. That was yesterday. Oh, so was Knight. Either way, congratulations on your stream streaks. Your stream streaks streaking what the stream streaks streak. Right, if the pity contracts are 100% salvage rate, no. So pity contracts will always have good terms, but they are not fixed at 100% salvage. Hannah says they sucks for the streaks, but try to make it up in other ways. You make it up by just being your magnificent self. King Miles says there's a lot of streaking around here. Well, that's the joy of being on the internet. Nobody can see when you're not wearing pants. Mr. Bear adding his own thoughts there. What do you think, Mr. Bear? Do you think pants are a sign of the oppressor? Yeah, he's cleaning himself now, so I assume he agrees. But yeah, so what are we going to do today? So as I say, Hammer, who I can see is in chat, is... so Radar says, unsure if it's a pity contract, but they do say that both ally and enemy are regular and mission targets pirate hunting. So you can spot a pity contract because it's a pirate hunting contract, generally speaking, and the allies are veteran and the enemy are green. Those are always fixed. The allies are always veteran and the enemies are always green. But as I say, Hammer wants us to have the ability to stagger a Greg event. So what do we mean by that? So say you have an event on Tuesday. Hammer wants the ability for you have the event, you pick your option. Hammer wants the ability for the results of that option to not trigger until, say, Friday. King Miles says, and it's only one of the first 4 or so contracts doing the campaign, right? That is correct, kind of. So the way pity contracts work is I believe we defaulted it to 4. So that means when you start your brand new campaign, you are guaranteed to have around 4 pity contracts in the pool. And each month, you're going to get 4 pity contracts. However, that number 4 is reduced by 1 for every successful contract you do. So if you successfully resolve 2 pity contracts, you're going to have 2 in the pool. But then say you take a non-pity contract and fail it, you're still going to have 2 in the pool. But if that non-pity contract is a success, you're only going to have 1 pity contract in the pool. The aim there is to ensure that even campaigns that are just struggling royally still will have a small number of guaranteed good contracts that they can fall back on if they need it. Because if you're failing one of your first 4 contracts, you need the pity contract. And if you fail one of your pity contracts, then you still need the pity contract. So let's have a look at the random event system. Let's see what we want to do here. So we don't want a response entry, do we? I guess we do. So let's say underneath quality, let's have an integer. And we'll say results delay. And we're going to make it an integer so we can accept a null value. And that allows us to say if actually no, we don't know normal int's good here. Yes, I think so. So that should initialize as 0, I would have thought. Radar says I used my PD contracts up early on because the Drax made me realize I'm not ready for this. So results delay is just going to be how many days to wait until we resolve the event. So now let's head over to our... No, we don't need that yet. So what are we going to do now? Fox Direct says, out of curiosity, how familiar are you with Paradox Grand Strategy games? Greg is effectively an implementation of their dynamic event system, so it may be a good place to look for some inspiration. It's weird you say that. It's weird you say that. I would never take inspiration from a Paradox Grand Strategy game. Certainly not a space one, where you can control your own player-made custom empire. No, I've never taken inspiration from there. That sounds silly. You're being silly. For anybody who's unaware, I am a massive fan of Stellaris, and Greg is basically just the Stellaris event system. For all intents and purposes. It's programmatically different, but on the player-facing side, it's largely the Stellaris event system. Because if something works, why change it? But yeah, it's basically the Stellaris event system married to the HBS BattleTech event system. So HBS BattleTech's events were the inspiration, and then Stellaris was the inspiration for the actual implementation. State Dog says, valid. For all their flaws, Paradox made some decent event systems. They did. I've never really... Okay, so here's the thing. I'm not a big fan of 4X games, but I fucking love Stellaris, because Stellaris tells a story. And if I look at other 4X titles, for example, Civilization, I find that the game of Civilization is just walking through the steps. It's not telling a story. Whereas Stellaris is always telling me a story, and I always enjoy that story. Okay, so we have to update tests. So if we want to make a new random event entry, so that's going to give us our response entries. Now here's the question. Do we want to have each individual response have a specific time? No, I don't think we do. Let's have the delay. Let's keep it on the response entry. Let's keep it on the response entry for now. We can always change that later. We'll update our tests later. Aristotle says, one thing that MekHQ struggles with these sorts of things is there's no easy way to add, subtract, and manipulate the actual events. The UI is generally brilliant at showing stuff, but changing something is opaque. I'm not entirely sure what you mean about add, subtract, and manipulate the actual events. You need to give me a little bit more information here, Strazi. Hammer says, this linking to the librarians file I sent you? Exactly. This functionality before Hammer requested was intended, but I wasn't intending to do it until much further down the line. But Hammer's kind of made it necessary for us to get it in soon. Yeah, I think we have the delay results up front, and we can go from there. Now, what are we going to need to do? I suppose we need to have a... See, this is where it gets interesting, because we're going to need to have a way to save the event response. We're now going to need to save data about the event. Whereas previously we got away with, and this is why I hadn't implemented it already, is we got away with the fact that random events were one-pop things. You didn't have... Aristotle says, what if I want to add an event? There should be a UI for that. What if I need to change an event because it doesn't fit my game? There should be a UI for that, that sort of thing. So what you want to do, Aristotle, is you want to go onto the MegaMek official Discord and go to the Greg channel. You'll find it in announcements and add a suggestion for that. Because I fully agree that there should be a way to edit events. And an event editor would work. But the thing is, this is not designed to be edited by players, so it would require a significant change up in how the Greg events work. And it also needs to be clarified that Greg events are the big roleplay events. They are not in event fires when you do, I don't know, give someone a promotion. That's a programmatical event. This is a more user-facing event. But yeah, I mean, adding in some kind of event writer would be cool, but I'm not really interested in doing that until the actual events themselves are stable, because there's no real point in me making an event writer with all the UI work and front end that would require, as well as the back end support, because right now we're just reading from YAML. So like all of that work while Greg is still being actively developed and while we're still trying to work out what Greg needs, because you have to remember, MekHQ has never had something like Greg before. It had Pest. I suppose it's more proper to say MekHQ never had anything like Pest before Pest. And similarly, nobody prior to us embarking on this, starting with the Convoy event system, ever tried doing anything like this in MekHQ. So we're needing to develop every tool ourselves. And that means that we need to roll things out slowly. We can't, for example, have Greg be a full-featured thing that has everything all singing, all dancing, because we don't know what features it needs yet. And that makes it difficult to write anything that's user configurable when we don't even know how it's going to work. So yeah, if you want a user configurable event system, you're going to need to request it, and the place to request it, you don't need to do an RFE. Just describe what you're wanting in the Greg channel on the official MegaMek Discord. You'll find the link in the place where links live on Twitch, and that's what you want to do. That channel was specifically created for that purpose. Foxdara says, I thought about making my own separate mini program that would take input fields and output the required YAML that can just be copy pasted into the relevant files, but until things are finalized, there's no point yet. Yeah. So we actually have a writer's guide now. So let me see if I can bring it up. Because if I go down to Greg, in the in-development section, I go to Greg, and there's a writer's guide. We've got other writer's guides that are coming. But if I open this up and show you, give me a second to switch over from IntelliJ to Safari, not Safari to Preview. There you go. So this is the Greg Writer's Guide. Let's zoom out a little bit. So this takes you through not just what Greg is, what its history is, but every system, how to write events, how to add new events, how to write event triggers. It's got some guidance on how to write the actual event, what each of the values in the YAML mean, what each of the possible effects are that you can get from it. Like this is basically the Greg Bible, and this will be updated as new systems are added. So this is meant to be something that players and developers can write for, add stuff to, and edit as they see fit, without me needing to write a player configurable editor. So if you're interested in writing for Greg, have a look at this. But what will be happening later, once we have the system more stabilized, is I will be putting out an announcement on MekHQ Discord specifically asking for writers, because I can't do this all myself. So if you've got some writing chops and you fancy writing for Greg, keep an eye out for that announcement. because we've got a lot of systems that we want to implement, a lot of events, and we need people to write them. So yeah, this is what we've done in the meanwhile, so players can edit and add events. So I know that's not the same as having a UI for it, but it's the best we can do at a stage where the system itself is still very fluid. Does that answer your question, Aristasi? Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to head back over to IntelliJ. Okay, so results delay is going to be 0 for most events, but now we need to find a way. We need to actually write the system into an XML. But what information do we need from the XML? So the problem I'm running into is we can't just say, I mean, we could, but it'd be really, really gross to just save the entire event. Because we also have to keep in mind that there isn't just one source for these events. So even for prisoner events, there are 2 possible sources. So we need to have a way to save the data as well as keep it hooked up with the existing stuff. I suppose we could just take the random event data. That's going to give us our type, and it's going to give us our response entries. But what it's not going to give us is where the event's from. I guess then, in that case, what do we need? I guess delayed event results. So delayed events for results, we're going to want to have a list of random event results. That's true. So we need to know the effects. We call that delayed effects. Well, we're gonna have already done the skill checks and the ability types. I guess we're gonna need a. No, we're not gonna need a local date because we're gonna go ahead and store it in a map with the date. So I guess we would then need string delayed message. Delayed participant, and we're also going to need so here's what the problem. We can't get a delayed participant because what if that person is no longer with the campaign when the delay expires? Say you had, for example, an event triggering on Monday. On Tuesday, you deleted a character, and then on Friday the event triggers. That character no longer exists. what are our alternatives? How are we triggering the results? Because what we might be able to do here is we might be able to have multiple maps, one for each event library. And then all we're needing to do is store in that event library the event and a date it's going to trigger on. Here's an alternative solution. Right now, we're testing delayed in the results of the event. That creates a lot of programmatical issues. Like we're going to struggle to have a lot of these things in place because this was never written with delays in the results in mind. Pest wasn't, at least. What if we make the events results? We would just say that for programming reasons, the events results will always trigger immediately. That is definitely the simplest approach to this. So we could do that, but we could have follow-on events. That's the key thing that we need. Yeah, okay, I think that's is what we need here. We need to have follow-on events. So we get results delay, and we're also going to get string follow on event. Fox Arrow says that's how Paradox does things programmatically and seems to be the easiest way to handle things. Yeah, because there is a lot of there would be a lot of benefit to being able to delay the actual results. So you pick your resolution option on day 1, and on day 6 you actually get the results of that. That makes sense, and I like that. But that doesn't. It just has so much complexity to it because we need to log at that point not just the results of the event, any extra stuff that needs to happen. We also need to log who the event is happening to. And that person can change between the event triggering and when the results trigger. So we would potentially have to teach the event system how to handle that for every conceivable way of fetching the relevant character, which is just not really doable. But we can have follow-on events where you get an event on day 1, you resolve it, and then on day 6 you get a follow-on event. Maybe on day 1 you're given the opportunity to gamble on some mechs, and then on day 6 you get a follow-on. You win the gamble, and on day 6 someone tries to con you and deliver a lemon. I think that's really what we're going to need to do here. We could add a type of event that doesn't have any options, so it's just a results. That could work as well. But that really comes back down to the same system. We have a delay results, and then we have a follow-on event. So follow on event delay. And we have a follow-on event. Foxstar says, by making it multiple events, it also allows for more complex things later on, so like multiple branching paths for a single storyline. Yeah, so follow-on events was something that was already planned. We're just implementing it now. So this was the follow-on events is something that was required for the Star League caches. So We're just adding it on now because Hammer wants it, basically. Follow on events. Interesting, we don't have a default for skill check skill. Interesting. I'm sure there's a reason for that. Let's go down to data and see what the reason for that is. But yeah, I would definitely like to have some kind of UI for this. It's just, I really don't have the capacity for that right now. And I really don't like working in the UI. I don't. It's a pain in the ass. Like, case in point, last week we made a really nice, in my opinion, update to the personnel view, like the little character sheet, where it added tabs so that it was a bit more organized. We've already had people complaining about that. And so every time we make a UI change, and I'm talking in general why I don't like working in the UI, not so much why I don't want to do a UI for this, because I kind of do, really. But every time we make a UI change, we have to include a way to go back to the old way, otherwise people complain. The one that's really upsetting me still is the personnel, the daily report tabs, where now your daily reports go into the little tabs rather than being one big massive list. And that was something that had been requested for probably close to a decade, if not longer. And so we finally implemented it. It was really, really difficult to implement. It took ages. Finally implemented it, and immediately people were complaining because they wanted to go back to the old way. So we then added, I added a way for them to go back to the old way, and then people complained because they wanted to have both the old way and the new way at the same time. So I added that, and then people are still complaining because they don't realize those options exist. Because they're not looking for those options, they just want to complain. Or they just assume it hasn't been added. And that is the experience I get every time I make a UI change. Hawk and IllianiDev are making all these UI changes, and they're getting none of the bullshit. And I am incredibly proud of the work that they're doing, and I don't want them to get the bullshit. But it seems to me every time I make a change, there are complaints. And I'm sure that's confirmation bias, but even outside of the difficulty of writing a UI, and it is very difficult, but even outside of the difficulty of writing a UI, knowing that anything I do regarding the UI, I'm going to have to basically do twice, is just exhausting. And it makes it a really unpleasant development experience. Because yes, of course, we want players to feel empowered to tell us when they don't like things. But knowing that every little thing I change, I'm going to have to then make a way to go back to the old way, and then we're going to have to maintain the old way, it is very exhausting. It is very, very exhausting. And I've lost random events. There you are. Defaults to an empty string if not present. It certainly doesn't. Now it does. Fox Darren says, that's why I try to follow the PRs on GitHub so I have an idea of what's going on. Yeah. One of the problems we do have is that we don't... It's very difficult for us to write patch notes because so much gets changed. And like we have tried in the past to write actual genuine patch notes, and then nobody reads them. And when it takes a very, very long time to write those patch notes, it just quickly becomes not worth it. So that should initialize as 0. Should. If it doesn't, we're soon gonna find out because we'll get a whole bunch of errors. So that gives us that. What you also need to do is let's add some clarification. So if follow-on event, string utility, come on fingers, behave, utility is null or blank, and follow-on event delay is greater than 0. We're going to need to do a thing. We're going to need to do a warning. Similarly, if follow-on delay is less than 0, we also need to do a thing. So let's add a logger. Oh. This is the problem here. This is not going to tell us, because this is event response entry. So this is not going to tell us what event triggered this. But we'll just have to do it. We'll see if that becomes a problem. Because I suppose we can just run some breakpoints, that'll work. Okay, let's just go ahead and launch MekHQ and see if we get a whole bunch of errors in the log. And if we don't, we can then move on to the next stage. Of course, we're waiting on the data file staging. Well, it seems we're stuck here, and you're stuck with me. I will say that I am very, very happy that the moving times are over, because they've been leaving me really, really stressed. Moving has been freaking awful. So I'm glad that all of our stuff is in the one place now, so that we can actually start unpacking and just getting comfortable in the new space. That's going to be nice. I also have access to my books, so you'll no longer have to listen to me complain about having to use PDFs. I have campaign operations in my hand. But yeah, so I think what we're going to do now is we are going to... We're still going to have a problem with how to get the speaker. That's going to still be a problem because the event itself doesn't say who the speaker is going to be. The event says, here's what the event happens. So how do we specify how to get the speaker? Because if it's a prisoner event, then we can just go, okay, we'll just fetch whoever the senior prison guard is. That's easy. But what if it's a random personality event? This simple, on the surface idea quickly become troublesome. I suppose we can just say log who it is. And if that character no longer exists, we just don't include them in the follow-up event. That could work. That could work. Yeah, so if we just say, hey, this event is going to happen to this person in 6 days, and if that person no longer exists, we just cancel the event. No, don't cancel the event. We just do the event as if nobody has been picked. Maybe we could add an enum. Maybe we could add an enum that specifies who is being picked for the event. We could say prison guard, senior admin, senior whatever. Random protagonist. Specified. That could work. That could work. So we're still waiting on. Oh no, data's finished building. Okay, so let's just launch MekHQ and see if we run into any problems with our current setup. If we don't, I'm going to commit this, and then we'll go ahead and see about creating an enum for all the people that we might want. Because we can always expand the enum, but the enum will tell us, hey, this is how you should find the speaker. I need to move over to... actually, I suppose I'm just launching into MekHQ. It doesn't really matter because I'm literally just going to close it again. Because we're only really concerned about the logs. But yeah, Aristrazzi, I haven't seen it pop up in Greg yet, so if you have added it, ignore me. But if you haven't, definitely make sure to add a request in the Greg channel for some kind of UI editor. Because I can see it being very advantageous. I can see it being a really, really useful thing. And because it's not something I can really do right now, I don't want it getting forgotten. Okay, let's have a look at our log files. Okay, no errors, perfect. We should, however, update the tests before we commit. See, village check. Trying to see if. I suppose it doesn't really matter what are we doing. No follow on event. Defaults to 0. Let's just run this to see if everything is working as it should do. So what all this test is doing is saying, hey, if we input a null follow-on event, is it turning it into an empty string? Oh. Screwed that up. Let's just refresh that. Make sure these tests run. Waiting for the tests to run. Cool, those tests all passed. Just make sure these tests pass as well. Sometimes I'm using that it takes longer for the tests to pass, to like finish, like initialize and actually close down than it takes for them to actually run. All those tests also run. All right, so now we've got the tests running, we're going to want to go ahead and create an enum for all the different types of people that we might want to have the event triggered on. So I guess we have senior, security guard. Oh, should be an enum. Campaign commander. But this isn't gonna work. No, this isn't gonna work. And if we just have it so that if the event if you remove the person the event's happening to, and the event triggers and they're just not there anymore, people are just gonna report that as a bug. I think the cleanest way is going to be to have it so that if the person the event's targeting isn't there anymore, the event just stops. That's the route I don't want to take. But trying to come up with every conceivable combination of what we want, who the event is going to happen to, combined with the myriad of ways players set up their campaign, especially now that we can split forces. It's yeah, I'm not wholly sure we can do it this way. I think we're gonna have to just store the person the event's happening to, and if that person isn't there anymore, the event gets cancelled. Fox Darrow says, do all events need a target or some general company to events? So right now, the only events that we have are prisoner events. I can conceive of an event needing a target. Or just being a general company event. But the general company event is still going to want a character attached, even if that character is just the person reporting the event. I will say this was so much easier when I was just writing the system for me and I knew exactly what I wanted. The trouble is just trying to come up with options for everything that the writers might want to do. Fox Arrow says, I'm thinking about those Starly caches where even if the main explorer dies, the company isn't just going to want to give up and stop. Yeah, so that also is very, very clear in my mind. But at the same time, if there's going to be skill checks, the player isn't going to want to just have the void attempting skill checks. The complexity is coming not from chaining the events. The complexity is coming from the delay. If we remove the delay, we remove the issue of the participant vanishing. Do we remove the delay? I would really rather not. I think the delay adds so many options that would not otherwise exist. Because how Stellaris gets around this issue is the event is happening as part of an active resolution. So, for example, an anomaly. You get the event from researching the anomaly. And if nobody's researching the anomaly, the event doesn't happen. And the event happens to whoever is researching the anomaly. But we don't have that luxury. We do with we kind of do with Comstar caches, but not really with anything else. Radar says make the delay adjustable. Oh, it is adjustable. It's an integer. You just specify how many days. I guess what we could do is have but here's the thing, we're not just needing to log who the event is happening to. Even if we skip the part where we're saying, oh, this event is happening to this person, and just say, oh, this event's happening to this force, we still then need to know which force it's happening to now that forces can be split. Radar was saying we could pause the event. That's true, but here's the thing. It's not so much the player needs to assign the person to the event, that the MekHQ needs to pick the target of the event, the participant. And that means we need to teach MekHQ how to track the participant, how to pick the participant, and how to pick a replacement if that original participant is no longer there. And how do we do that? How do we resolve this problem? There's a solution here, but I'm just not sure how to resolve it. How do we... Are we just overthinking this? Radar says, clearly the solution is this, slams the eject button. If anybody has any ideas of how to solve this problem, please feel free to voice them. King asks, how a missing target should be resolved is going to depend on what exactly the event is. Yeah, this is the problem. How do I codify that? And this is another reason why I was holding off developing this until we got to, so this specifically, I was holding off developing it until we got to Starly caches. Because it is far easier to develop a system for a concrete need than it is to develop a system for a hypothetical need when that hypothetical isn't even well defined. The hypothetical is literally, what if the writer wants to delay an event? Which isn't really offer an actionable solution. Because what if the writer wants to delay an event? I don't know. What if? What type of event is it? What are the circumstances of it being delayed? Let's go over to Discord. Let's have a look at our roadmap. Are we going to go to the void? We are going to the void. Let me just take you guys out of the void. There we go. Okay, so let's have a look at the Greg roadmap. Fox Tower says the main reason I can think of delaying events is RP feel, where things that should take some time actually take some time. Yeah, and I agree. Because prisoner events happen immediately. Convoy events happen immediately. It is only once we get to Starleague caches that we need to have a built-in delay fuse. Personality events could conceivably need a delay. RP skill events might need a delay. And really we need a delay in the response, not necessarily. I think we're talking about two possible things here. First is needing a delay in the response. The second is needing a delay for follow-on events. I think these are two separate things. So let's go into responses. Let's go back to IntelliJ. Let's pick how we're going to resolve delays in the responses, and then we're going to have another look at delayed events. So this is follow-on event delay. Let's add another one. Let's add resolution. What if it's the random event result? Because the result, if it doesn't happen, I'm back to square one, yeah. And if the result is, no, I think, okay, so we know we're going to need this for Starly caches. Does an event need 3 responses? I guess it probably does. And some water. What are we doing? Okay, here's the question. What are we attempting to do? So what do we need to log with a delayed event, a delayed result? We need to log the effects, that's that, and we need to log the person. Delayed results. So yeah, we're back to square one. Oh, sorry, I remember to make this a record, not a normal class. I guess we just log the string. That would work. It creates an issue of like if the active participant no longer exists, and then we'd just have an empty event. But I guess that would work. No, because we're still running into that exact same problem. How do we handle an event where the participants no longer exist? I guess we do it like this. Boolean. Missing participant. Allow missing participant. So we have the active participant, we have the other participant, and we, I guess, allow missing active participant and allow missing other participant. So what does this mean? We have the active participant we have the and then basically we have the active participant. If that is not null, and when we go to find the participant, that participant no longer exists, then we fall back on the we would say, hey, the active participant previously existed and no longer does exist, and allow missing activity participant is false, the event is cancelled at that point. If the active participant exists and then later doesn't, and we allow a missing active participant, at that point it doesn't matter, we just launch the event without the participants. Sorted. Fan-fiddly-tastic. Yeah, okay. I do just want to verify something. Okay, so I am making a mistake here. Cool. I thought I was. Go. No idea how I forgot to do this. Very dumb of me. Basically, it means none of these null guards actually did anything. Which isn't ideal. Foxdara says, I like this. Add some more considerations outside the event itself. For example, you've got a hotshot officer exploring a Starly cache of pending events. Do you really want to send his lance out to scenario just popped up and potentially get stuck running level 0 skill checks in the pending events if he gets head capped? Or do you send the B team who may struggle with the mission but ensures the cache exploration proceeds according to plan? Yeah, no, I think this is the best way we can handle it. I'm just double checking my work here. So apparently I may actually just be second guessing myself here. Let's worry about one problem at a time. One problem at a time. Let's worry about whether or not we're using these correctly else another time. Let's just go back to what we are working on. So, hypothetically, we create ourselves a this record. So this record has who the participants are, whether they allow missing other participants. I've realized a problem. This isn't going to work if there's also a follow-on event, because then we need to also log the follow-on event and also be able to resolve all that event. This is why Stellaris has people assigned to the event. Man, delayed events are causing me so much headache. How the fuck do we resolve this? Okay, fuck it. We are gonna stick to delayed events. So let's say we have a delayed follow-on event. We have a follow-on event for this entry. And the follow-on event delay is when it will trigger. We now need to go to the campaign level and we need to log where are random events libraries. So the random event libraries are storing each of the major events for prisoners and minor events for prisoners. This allows us to get prisoner events. I guess I can just say public random event data, get specific prisoner events. We'll say string event type and major. Or random event data if event Okay, so this is going to allow us to fetch a specific prisoner event using its event type. At which point, we then go over, so if we're thinking at this pure, so this is what coming back to what I was saying earlier, it's so much more helpful if you think about it just in pure or limited constraints. How do we make the system work for prisoner events? And then as we introduce new event categories, we can start thinking, okay, how do I make it work for stylic caches? How do I make it work for whatever? So this is going to be nullable, because we are going to return a null in the event that there isn't an event. True. Now we can get the effects, the event effect. I guess we go to campaign and we say let's have a map of, I guess, string local date. No. Local date list string. This is going to allow us to have multiple events on the same day. Can we just store this in the faction standings augmented faction, the random events library? We can. Okay. So I guess now we just need to have a way to add should be a get or default. There we go. Target date and event types. No, get or default is working here. Or default, like a date or new array. This is basically just telling us, hey, get the target date out of this array. If the target date doesn't exist, then give us the fresh, give us a fresh array. We don't need that to be a so I'm just going to add that and then put it back. So let's walk through the code. What's happening here? First, we are getting we're seeing is this local date already in the delayed prisoners events major map? If it is, we're just going to return the list of events tied to it. If it isn't, we are going to return an empty list, add the new event tag to it, and then put it back. Because when we put it back, it's going to overwrite the existing information with our new. Boolean is major. So map equals. So what we're going to do here is we're going to tell it if we're passing in the major, we want the major. If we want the minor, we want the minor. Especially if all these maps are identical. And at a later date, we could conceivably add enums, but we're not going to bother with that just yet. There we go. public list string. And this is going to allow us to get the delayed prisoner events for any specific day. So now we have a way to add events, we have a way to get them. We should also have a way to clear the public void clear delayed prisoner events. And that will just remove the entry. Okay, so we can add events, we can remove events, and we can get events. This is going to give us the bulk of what we're looking for. Sorry, cut your mic. Now here's the issue. This class, here is the issue. This class isn't stored. I guess we could make another class. We can make another class. We'll go delayed random events. There we go. Get delayed event. This can actually, rather than, so this in particular, we actually want this to live in the other area because this isn't being stored data. Going to add our delayed events. Then this is going to get all delayed events for date. Here today. Events. So we know we're going to have prisoner events, we're going to have convoy events, and we know we're going to have star, well, lost tech. We can add more to here as we do them, but for now let's go for, I'll call it random event category, not event category, random event category. Prisoners are actually broken up into prisoner, minor, and major. Minor and major. private void get array. This is actually going to return not a void, but this. So this is going to be a private method that we're going to use to fetch the data that we need to perform the above actions. Return switch random event category. It's going to tell us off because we haven't got all possible variables, but that's okay. Oh, wrong one. There we go. There we are. So most of these are going to return new hash map, but that's because it's not been defined yet. I suppose we don't really need to add these in, we can just add them as necessary, rather than preempting. Get it. So that means we no longer need to know if it's major or not here, because what we do is we call get event map using category. And now these methods are universal. It doesn't matter whether we're getting prisoners or what. We just need to have the category type. And that removes a really annoying eventuality that was going to happen, is that we were going to end up in a scenario where we were constantly needing to add new things here. Whereas now all we just need to do is add the update the switch and add the new hash map. Simples. We do, however, need to go back to campaign. We need to store this. This can actually be private final finale. Are we going to need to set this? We'll add this if we need to set it later. We might be able to just use the version that's getting initialized. In fact, we can guarantee that is the case by initializing it when we actually get the variable. So we're going to do it here. New delayed events. And this is just going to be an object that contains empty objects, empty hash maps. And I really don't want to sit here and write the IO for event library, so I'm actually going to ask Claude to do that for me. Of course, obviously, as always, I will be reviewing what it writes out, and there is no guarantee it's going to give me something useful. We'll see what it spits out. While we're waiting for this to kind of chunk along, let's consider we are having these delayed events. We are then going to need to write handlers for the delayed events. That actually resolves the issue we were having. If we treat each event as a single instance, a unique instance. So the event triggers, the follow-on event is not guaranteed to occur to the same people. If we treat it like that, then the event works. Doesn't it? It doesn't. It doesn't. We're still running back into the exact same goddamn position we've been running around this entire time. The question of how do we handle people? Delayed random event. Now we know the delayed random event is going to contain a string. So this actually is helpful. It tells us what we're looking for. So we are looking for a string event type key. We are also looking for a nullable UID. It's going to be active participant. We're going back to this secondary participant. Go back to our Boolean that we tried earlier. Boolean allows missing active participant and allows missing secondary participant. Do we need more information than this? I don't think we do, because with this object we're storing. Yeah, no, this works. So rather than storing a string, we'll store a delayed at random event. There we go. Ah, missed one. Yeah, okay. Now we're thinking of portals. Okay. So now we're going to get the delayed random event, which is going to contain all this BAMF. Need to get the legal statement. I'm going to call this delayed random event data, because otherwise we're going to get confused between that and delayed random events. Okay, because this starting of events is going to help us inform delayed results, I think. Who'd have thought that just adding a delay to random events would cause me to gain so many gray hairs? Now, the reason why we're storing UID here rather than full person, because we don't need the full person object, we just need to know the UID so that we can fetch that person from personnel. We do still have the issue of what if the person isn't that they no longer exist? What if they're just no longer with the same force? Maybe the force is traveling and you dumped them at a base somewhere. Do we just scrap delayed events entirely? So, hey, delayed events are cool. Are they just more trouble than they're worth? Because even with this, we're still not solving every problem. Because I have no idea how to. I guess we could log the location and check they are still at the same location. But I don't know enough about PsychoMonkey's new location code to even know if that's something we can or should do. And there's nothing to say that the person has changed location, but that the new location is away from where it should be previously. Yeah, okay, what I'm gonna do is, this was a nice experiment, but it is not workable. We can have follow-on events, we can't have delayed events. I think I don't regret spending the past 2 hours on this because it was a good exercise and it informs the future. But I think at this stage, we just say that delayed events are not something we can have. We can only have we can only have follow-on events, and then stuff like Starly caches where we are going to want to delay between picking something and resolving it. We will just have to hard code something in for that case. Because at least in Starly caches, we can almost certainly guarantee the person who's resolving the Starly cache is going to still be there. And if they aren't, we then need to handle that anyway. And that was always going to be the case. So yeah, okay. I think this was a fun experiment. I think we are not doing it. We'll do follow-on events, but we are not going to do delayed events. Oh, didn't mean to. There we go. Because I do still want the changes to this class. And Fox Darren says, fair enough, and now if somebody asks, you can tell them why it's not possible. Exactly, exactly. So no follow-on event delay. Which means no longer need that validation. Which means we're also going to have breaking tests. But at this point, I resoundingly do not give a shit. And you guys are probably like gotten used to seeing this now, but there are many times where you will be working on a project and you can spend hours, sometimes even multiple days, if not longer, trying to get a thing working, only to have to say, nah, this ain't gonna happen. And it might be that somebody at a later date will be able to come in and go, you just need to do this, and then magically it will work. I ain't that person. But after sometimes the second set of eyes can figure out what you can't. Yeah, exactly. It also doesn't help that the multiple location stuff. Like, if it wasn't for the multiple location stuff, I think I could probably have worked something out. But now that we have multiple location stuff, there is this, like, sure, you guys get to have multiple locations, but there are now some things that just aren't going to work. And then that is just, you don't get to have everything, you unfortunately. So, prisoner events. So we now need to handle possible follow-on events here as well. Not that we're actually using any, but we need to have it handled. So this is where it's going to change. Previously, we were picking the event in this, but we actually need to take that out. And the reason why we need to do this is we need... Ooh. Oh, Seeker 10,000. Thank you very much for the follow. I'm glad you're enjoying the stream. Yeah, so what we're going to do now is we've moved the random event data out of process random event. And that means process random event is now isolated. So what we can now do, we know we're going to have one event, but we might have second event, like second breakfast. Now, where, oh where? Now, random event dialog is where we actually resolve it. So where are we getting the response entry? Oh, we've got now. Response index skill check. So here is what we do. Integer string follow on event map. Add follow on event. Response, follow on event, response index. Event type key. If, there we go. Perfect, thank you. Auto finished sentence. Public string get follow on event, and that is going to be nullable because the map will return null in the event that the map does not contain the item you're looking for. So if we now jump back over to prisoner manager, just add this in. If what's it? String follow on event. And just need to initialize it. Dialog. Get follow on event. Choice index. Just scratch my back. So now we need to do the random event data, which means we need to have access to campaign here. I do. Okay, cool. Campaign, get random event libraries, get prisoner events. Oh, we need to know whether the we need to know whether the event's major or not. That's fine. There we have it. So now we have our follow-on event system. So walking the code, we'll come into process random events, at which place we'll just process the random event. But then at the bottom, we're going to check, does this event have a follow-on event? If it does, if it doesn't equal null, we're then going to get that follow-on event. And if follow-on event data doesn't equal null, we'll fire it. If it does equal null, we're going to process a log. Logger. How the hell do we not have a logger on this? That is crazy that Prisoner Event Manager doesn't have any logging. That seems ill-advised, but hey-ho. Seeker 10,000 says, I think it'd be cool if there was a unit deployment type that let you set up artillery battery like the facility ones that generate in StratCon. Yeah. It definitely comes under the umbrella of it's complicated. I looked into that a while ago, and there's a couple of things. One, you can just set the artillery to off-board in the MegaMek lobby. The other is that having off-board artillery, whether you have it or Princess have it, is so one-sided that it's just not a great experience, honestly. Because either you have artillery and Princess doesn't, at which point you win. Or Princess has artillery and you don't, at which point she wins. I really, really don't like how artillery is implemented right now, if I'm being perfectly honest. Okay, so that gives us follow-on events. See, isn't that so much easier when we remove the delay? Edit follow-on events. Now, of course, none of our current prisoner events handles. Seeker says 10,000. Well, that's just how it works in real life. While true, last time I checked, we didn't have giant stompy robots in real life. We can't just design for real life because real life isn't inherently a fun experience. And if we were modeling real life or what would really happen in universe, your dropship will be shot out of the air when you're landing and all your units will be destroyed. Modeling things off real life doesn't necessarily make a fun experience, and I have to construct a fun experience first. If I can make it believable, fantastic, but we do need to be careful that we're not just saying, oh, well, this works in real life. In real life, machine guns can shoot further than 30 meters. But the machine gun ranges were nerfed in game because it made a better game experience. So, and if you want to say, well, it works like in real life, literally all you need to do is select your artillery, right click, and Seekers of the joking around. Oh yeah, sorry, you have to appreciate I can only go off what you're typing. It's impossible for me to know whether you're making a joke or not. Not to mention I'm incredibly autistic, so I don't quite get jokes most of the time. What's next? I suppose next I'll need to update the documentation. Documentation has only just been released, so that's fine, I can deal with that. Let's test this, actually. Because we don't want to just have this completely untested. That would be incredibly stupid. So let's go down to our test light, our data, and we are going to... Well, first we need to update the data to include the following events. They are after quality. Oh, that's why. Okay. So let's save this. So what we're going to do is we are going to stack the deck. So random event type arguments. Quality neutral. Response neutral. Response negative. So we're going to know if this works if we get the same event twice. Immediately after each other. So I'm definitely not saving these changes that we're making to the data. What we're going to do is we're going to launch MekHQ. It is going to have to initialize the goddamn data, so this will take a couple of minutes. We're then going to set ourselves up with a scenario where we are guaranteed to get a prisoner event. We are then going to see if, when we resolve the prisoner event, does it then launch the exact same event all over again? And if it does, we know that follow-on events work. Seeker 10,000 says, I was watching one of your streams and you said the survivability playtest rules for ammo explosions made the mechs feel less like ships, which was the opposite of my impression of them personally. I think they make the mechs feel like more ships since single ammo de-escalation rate kills a ship. So I was specifically referring to World War II ships and to a lesser extent pre-World War II ships, where we frequently saw ammo explosions destroying a ship. That's what I was referring to, at least. It's an interesting take, though, that the new rules make them feel more like ships. You're referring to the Jutland, which had improper ammo handling? Okay, no, that's fair. Didn't we also lose the hood to a similar scenario? Was the hood? No, it wasn't the hood. God, my memory is almost certainly making a liar of me. To Google. Hood was a golden BB. Yeah. Classic golden BB. Yeah, the radar confirmed the hood was destroyed when their magazine was hit. I will say, speaking of the new rules, Gen Con cannot come fast enough. I cannot wait to get my grubby little paws all over the new book. I'm just gonna caress it, lick it, kiss it maybe. I'm just so excited to get my hands on these new rules. Everything I've heard from the grapevine has been positive. I have yet to hear anything negative from people who have actually seen the new book. I know there's definitely some concern from people who've been playing BattleTech for a while, maybe saw the playtest rules and maybe they had a rule or two they didn't like. And I think there's definitely a disconnect I've noticed in the community where people see the playtest rules and go, okay, I don't like this rule, and then jump to the assumption that rule is going to be in the final copy, as opposed to the playtest rules. The purpose of the playtest rules was to test the play and see which rules would make the final cut. And so I think when people do finally get hold of the core rulebook, I do think a lot of the consternation that we've been seeing from certain play groups will subside. Now, I don't doubt there will be some people who will never move on from Total War. And that is entirely their prerogative. I am not going to sit here and say they're playing the game wrong if they're enjoying the game. But I will say, for MegaMek, there is a certain expectation among certain portions of the community that we are going to continue supporting both Total War and core rules at the same time. And I don't know how feasible that's going to be. Like, without seeing the rules, I genuinely don't know if we're going to be able to support both Total War era and core rules. Secret Empire says it sounds like a nightmare. Yeah, it's gonna be a nightmare because the players who are in the never change the rules camp are going to be very unhappy if we have to announce that. Now, I emphasize if we have to announce that we can't support Total War era rules anymore. There are definitely going to be some players who just stop playing MegaMek or just stay on 51.0. So we're in a very, very difficult situation where we need to try and make everybody happy, whilst also recognizing the fact that I think we've maybe got like 5 people on the team. We're not a AAA studio. We're not even a indie studio. We are a group of volunteers. Rada says one of the things that didn't make it to the past the playtest was the changes to the hit tables. That doesn't surprise me. Like, the changes to the hit tables were very unpopular. And the changes to the hit tables seem to be the primary thing that players don't want to see in new core rules, and have declared that they'll never play the new core rules because it's in there before they've even seen the new core rules. And like, if Radar is correct, that rule ain't in there. So it's a very interesting thing, because for me, like, new rules is a net positive. Like, especially the ammo rules. The ammo rules are the ones that surprised me the most, because I saw the new ammo rules in the playtest and I was like, yes, finally having a single ton of machine gun ammo won't make me light up like the fiery heart of a sun every time something looks at me funny. And that's fine, but I do not understand why people don't like the new ammo explosion rules. I genuinely do not understand why people don't like the ammo explosion changes, because to me, and this is of course just the opinion of me, and as Text Talk BattleTech likes to say, is just the opinion of an asshole, but like, I do not understand why people don't like the change to the ammo rules. I really don't. Viceman, hey Viceman, glad you can make it, says that the big boom. There are plenty of big boom. And yeah, I don't think having the audacity to carry one half a ton of machine gun ammo should make you more explosive than a goddamn nuke. It's something I've never liked. People have complained about the mechs were built by Russians with no venting. But here's the thing, I genuinely understand what Catalyst is going through with the ammo rules, because there have been so many times where I've made a change in MekHQ thinking, yes, this will be an easy win. The player base will love this. I cannot wait for the player base to get this thing that is a net positive for the game, and they're going to be like, yes, Illiani, thank you for giving this thing we've asked for years. And I know the number of times I've done that, and then the community response has been, thanks, we hate it. Seekers attempt at advanced scouting. Yeah, fucking advanced scouting, tabbed daily reports, The personnel changed this here. We've already been getting complaints about it, and it hasn't even launched. Like, it's become a bit of a prophet's warning. Anytime that I think, yes, easy change the player base will love, guaranteed I'm going to get complaints about it. Guaranteed. Like, I think having the personnel view like this, where everything's broken up and you can see exactly what you want when you need to see it, I think this is great. Apparently, not everybody agrees. And I was bemoaning this earlier, but like I'm glad the person that raised the complaint did let us know, because there will be guaranteed to be other people who don't like it. But like, this looks great. I don't see the problem. And that is exactly what the Catalyst is going through right now with the ammo explosion rules. Here is an easy win. People have been complaining about this for years. Let's change it. Let's give what the people want. And now Catalyst is getting the people saying, we don't want that. We like to how it was. And so I'm going to have to go in and rewrite all of this, all of the personnel display stuff, so that now players can go into client options and change it back to how it was if they want. And I'm like, that is so much extra work. Because basically none of our UI is set up so the player can go, actually I want it to look this way. And so anytime I make a change and the player says, I hate it, take it back, I then have to go in and rewrite the entire thing. It's why I was getting so grumpy about the daily report changes people kept asking for, because every time someone asked for a new daily report change, I had to go in and rewrite the entire thing. But yeah, so that is what Catalyst is going through with the ammo explosion rules. And I really feel for them. UI hell? Yeah. King Miles says, make sure when you fix the CPU overheating with the spacebar is held down that you include an option to re-enable it. Yeah. I like that meme. Okay, what were we doing? We were going to... Where the hell were we even going to? Did we even pick it? Oh, we did. Okay, so we need to go 29 days. 29 days off we trot. Don't care. Whatever. Piss off. Okay, so our next trick is going to be to capture some clowns. We have prisoner capacity of 104. Let us capture 500 clowns. No, just have to wait for 500 clowns to generate. So there they go. Let's go to civilians. Let's find our clowns. Radar says, oh god, not the clown. Someone called security quick. Seeker 10,000 clown. What is this? Barotrauma? So fun facts, the clowns being added is actually a Space Station 13 reference. And we are going to imprison them. So they are now prisoner clowns. It's going to significantly take us over our prisoner capacity. So now we're going to hit advance a couple of times. Don't care about that. Don't care. Don't care. Don't care. Don't care. Piss off. All right, so that's broken. King Mo says they're thinking the clowns in Barotrauma might also be a Space Station 13 reference. Yeah. Interesting. But we're looking at this, and this appears to be very broken. Because this means we're completely missing the breakout resource. So now we need to go figure out where it is. So we're going to go to the random event diary. We can actually close that. And head back to IntelliJ. So we can try and fix. So we're in the random event dialog. Wonder, why is that not working? ROS preset, external resource bundle. Okay, go back to that. So we're passing in the external resource bundle. Okay, that's all good. What external resource bundle are we passing in? Okay, so we're passing in prisoner events. Breakout is completely missing. Why is breakout completely missing? Because it's now in random events effects manager. But why though? Okay, so we actually don't need the external resource bundle anymore because apparently we moved it at some point and didn't update everything. Good on us. Fortunately, easy to correct. This will then throw up an error. Easily fix. There we go. Okay, let's relaunch MekHQ and that should fix that, and then we can go back to testing what we're actually here to test. I have lost. Where is my autosave gone? Well, I guess we're doing it again because I've lost the autosave. Oh well, that's fine. Doesn't take too long to set this up. So we've got about half an hour left on stream. And a reminder that tomorrow is our day off, so we won't have any streaming tomorrow. I'm going to be using tomorrow to go through and continue work on the mission overhaul. If you are enjoying the stream and you haven't already, please consider giving it a little follow so you get notified when we go live. If you check the link plates where links live, you also see that we have a link to the official MegaMek Discord, but also the our own streaming Discord. If you're particularly enjoying yourself, consider the subscribe button. All proceeds go towards getting me a new computer so I can have an easier time of developing for you all. And if you're over on YouTube, hit the old subscribe button and the bell. When do we go live? We go live 5 times a week. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. We do our live development streams, which is what you're watching now. And then on Friday evening, we have our ongoing MekHQ campaign starring the Scrotorious Bastards, a Rasselhague house unit. Seeker 10,000 says, I really wish the faction available screen actually display the dates used in the Force generator. What faction availability screen? Oh, yeah. I don't know. That's not a me thing, so I don't really know how that all works. I'm not wholly sure how that was set up. Need to go 24 days. I guess we're not clever, so we have to deal with that. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a question for Drake or Kat. I think it was one of those two that set that up, not me. So, going to GM mode, let's go ahead and get ourselves our clowns. What, 500 clowns? Go civilians and imprison the clowns. They know what they did. Radar had a frontline breakthrough failing to populate an enemy force. You need to be definitely report that. Sig says they're working on unit availability stuff, but units that don't have that set. Make sure you talk to De Gorsman. Give me a second. De Gors. So make sure you speak to that person on the official MegaMek Discord. De Gorsman is our data human, and they are working on all of the availability data right now. So definitely reach out to De Gorsman before you get too deep into your own personal project. Because it might be that you can work with them and maybe we can incorporate your changes into the MekHQ codebase. So we have our clowns. They are imprisoned. Let's advance to Monday. Okay, here we go. We have a mass breakout in progress. Oh no, the clowns are revolting. Let's gun them down. Okay. So we immediately see that we did not get the follow-on event. So our changes haven't worked. But let's go check our logs and see if we can see why. Kratos has gunned them down. Yeah, perfect response to a bunch of clowns. Oh! Okay, so we got a null point error, and that's probably why I didn't fire. Okay, and it says we get a no point error on line 528, which is here. Oh, 528, not the. Five, 2, 8. Random events manager. Yeah. Oh, it's advanced. Okay, so beg your pardon, 265. Ugh. I'm getting tired, it seems. I thought that didn't seem right. 265, unit equals birth. Okay, yep. So we're not if unit doesn't equal null. There we go. Okay, let's try again, see if we can trigger the event this time. Because, yeah, we didn't even get the results of us gunning down the clowns. Where on earth are we saving our new campaigns? Yeah, whatever, go away. Shoo. Because it seems our saves are getting saved somewhere weird. If our saves are being saved here, why aren't we getting saves? I have to keep an eye on that. Okay, here we go again. Back into MekHQ. Keymaster system still on IntelliJ. Yeah, I figured that out just in time. Seeker says they talked to Gorsman already a little bit, but need to look into what he is currently working on. Okay. So we need our clowns. Fine, we'll have 600 clowns this time. It's like 20% more clown. What channel would that be best? There should be a data channel down in the data center channel category. Just add to Gorsman. They don't seem to get too upset when I add them, so it should be fine. Oh, I picked the wrong campaign options. There we go. We weren't tracking crime. King Miles says in all 600 clowns or only need a single car for transport. Ooh, we got a heroic soldier. Okay, well, the response isn't working, but we can fix that in a second. And we get break out again. Okay, so follow-on events work. The response, not so much. And now we're in an infinite loop because... okay, that's fine. We're not too worried about the infinite loop. Let's head back into IntelliJ and check why we are... just a random event doing for results. Okay, so should we response 0 argument successful failure? That's the option. Where are we getting the actual results text? Okay, response. Response prefix, then we have period, choice index, period, event type. No, that should be correct. Resource key should be correct. And we're looking in the right place. Oh, no, we're not. Well, that'll be why then. There we go. Okay, so we can reset these because we don't want to be merging in our placeholder changes. Okay, so that we've got follow-on events. We couldn't get delayed events to work, which is a shame. I would have really liked to do that, but there's just too many unknowns, and I just couldn't get it to be quite what we needed it to be robust enough, which is a real shame. But at least we can have follow-on events, even if it might seem that like the event's being resolved in seconds. And that might be a little bit immersion breaking. It does at least mean we can have follow-on events if we want to. Just having a sippy sip of my water. So we are 20 minutes left. Is there anything we can do in 20 minutes? I'm not wholly sure what we want to do next. Maybe because it is date night tonight, so I might actually step away in a few minutes because then I can start preparing dinner for my partner. Tonight I'm making them Hunter's chicken and homemade fries and roasted carrots that have been roasted in honey. Anybody who isn't British might not know what Hunter's chicken is. Hunter's chicken is if you take a chicken breast and you slather it in barbecue sauce, bacon, wrap it in bacon, and then cover it in cheese. Secret 10,000 says, I was watching Heckin Doc and asked him about infantry and how they interact with advanced scouting system. If I recall correctly, it's too long, didn't read, not to bother with it, but then I was watching one of your streams and what you said seemed to conflict with what he said. Infantry are very, very good in scouting. You do need to set them up correctly though. So an infantry platoon on its own is basically worthless because they don't have a very high movement, so they're not going to get many modifiers. But if you stick that same infantry platoon into a VTOL, then they inherit the VTOL's movement, and suddenly they get significant movement speed bonuses. And what this represents is it represents the VTOLs flying around, moving the scouting platoons around. VTOL, hover transport, any fast light unit that can carry infantry, stick the infantry in that vehicle, and then they will be very, very good at scouting. Because how scouting works is each unit, emphasis important, every unit in the recon patrol gets to make a scouting check. And so if you can get, say, 2 platoons of infantry in one VTOL, the VTOL gets to roll for scouting, and both infantry platoons get to roll for scouting, and all 3 use the VTOL's movement profile. I'll tell you guys what is good for scouting. Lambs. No, I don't see many people use them for it, but the way lambs work is you get basically all the modifiers from being a mech, like your weight modifiers, all that good stuff, and the general combat durability. And Radar says they hate lambs. Here's the thing. Lambs make great recon mechs because they use the aerospace mode speed modifier for scouting. So essentially you have a mech that pretends it's an aerospace fighter for recon purposes. And then when you actually get into the fight, you go into mech mode and do your fight like you would any other light unit. Seeker 10,000 says, I really want to play around with lambs in the scouting role. They are really, really good in the scouting role. But yeah, definitely don't sleep on infantry. Infantry make very, very good scouts because infantry can get places other units can't. Breda says, plus lambs are kind of unavailable for the 3080s because they go extinct. Yeah, because, well, Catalyst realized nobody liked them. I suppose that'd be faster. But anyway, people realized nobody liked them and they didn't really have a role to play in the Battlefield game because the benefit of a lamb was purely recon, which is something that advanced scouting does actually model, which is quite nice. But yeah, I'm repeating myself at this point, but definitely don't sleep on an infantry in the scouting position. One of the things that I'm really, really happy with modern MekHQ is just how much we encourage combined arms gameplay now. Because when I first joined the MekHQ team, we really just, it was mechs. And occasionally a vehicle if you were doing a challenge run where you were going only vehicles. Whereas now, the optimal way to play is to have mechs, it's to have support vehicles, it's to have tanks, it's to have artillery, it's to have infantry, it's to have battle armor, it's to have VTOL. And we're just able to, as players, and I'm speaking as a player here, we're just able to take advantage of the myriad of combat units that actually exist in a BattleTech setting rather than feeling like we can only really use mechs. Seeker 10,000 says, yeah, have all the tools. Yes, yeah, and I really, really like that. And that's only going to improve as we go on because we have, if anybody didn't see the announcement, with the launch of 51.0, we have declared that the current company generator is now deprecated. So the current company generator is not receiving any more bug fixes. It's not receiving any more improvements. Any of the features that were announced for it by Windchild back in the day that Windchild never did are not being done. because we are moving on to a new evolution of the company generator that will support combined arms rather than just being only generating mechs. You might think, oh, Illiani, doesn't the company generator give me a bunch of support vehicles? It does, in the most grossest way fashion possible. Like I had to break the company generator back. I had to break its back to get those handful of support units to generate, and they're completely hard coded. But yeah, no, the current company generator we've just outgrown it. The days of only mech campaigns are pretty much numbered at this point. I would say even that back in the day, it used to be that a vehicle campaign was a challenge run. I would say that now a mech only campaign is a challenge run. Because if you only have mechs, there are so many things you can't do. Like mechs make terrible prison guards, for example. Though, how we actually implemented... Vader says, I know people love to focus on mechs, but God, I love having combined force. Yeah, I'm a big combined arms fan myself. But here's the thing with how non-infantry units work for prisoner calculation. So you have a prisoner capacity based on the number of infantry people you have assigned to the prisoner role. So that includes both conventional and battle armor guards. However, every non-infantry unit that you assign to security increases that prisoner capacity by 5%. So if you have 100 prisoner capacity and you assign a security mech, for example, for roleplay purposes, you're now going to have a prisoner capacity of 105. It's not much, and it's not designed to like make everybody fall over themselves to get security mechs and Humvees or whatever. But it's designed as a way to, like, if you are doing that roleplay, there is a mechanical benefit to it. Seekers 10,000 saying a lamb only challenge run. That could be fun. That definitely could be fun. I can see people enjoying that. Radar says they should invest in jeeps for their security forces. Seekers 10,000 security mech like the urban with flamethrower. Well, it turns out if you set all your prisoners on fire, they can't revolt anymore. Okay, so we are Seeker 7,000. That's actually law, by the way. Yeah, that sounds like some very Draconis Combine kind of nonsense. Breda says, the Blackjack was originally supposed to be an anti-insurgency with twin flashpoint flamethrowers. That is just dumb. That is so dumb. The Blackjack as an anti-insurgency mech is just dumb. Oh my god, that's freaking ridiculous. Well, I suppose if modern day prisoners can have snipers in towers, then a sniper mech can be anti-insurgency, I guess. But yeah, so I think at this point we're pretty much drawing to a close. So if you have enjoyed the stream today, enjoyed me slowly losing my mind over the concept of delaying an event, then please consider hitting the follow button. If you've particularly had a good time, and only if you can afford to, consider subscribing. That will help me get my new computer a lot faster so I can make better and bigger stuff for you all. If you haven't already, then head on down to the IllianiDev Discord. You'll find the link in the place where links live. And you should definitely, if you enjoy MekHQ, consider joining the MegaMek official Discord. There are loads of people just waiting to help you there. We're a really friendly community. If you're over on YouTube, hit the subscribe, hit the bell, sacrifice a chicken to the algorithm, whatever's needed. But once again, I am going to remind you all that we do not stream on Wednesday, so no stream tomorrow. But we will be back on Thursday with another dev stream, and then Friday, dev stream, followed by the Scrotorious Bastards. But I think at this point, I am going to close off the stream. I hope you all had a good time, and I hope you all enjoy your evenings. And yeah, may all your crits be hits. Toodles!